Hey, welcome to some of my high-level thoughts, like the 30,000-foot thoughts on Maxi Kleber. Now, he is 32 years old this season, so he's getting up there, but this is his seventh season in the league. He spent all of that time with Dallas, and I have been one of the most long-standing vocal pro-Maxi guys on all of Mavs Twitter. Way before almost anyone else, I was an earlier adopter to the Maxi train. And my buddy who I used to host a podcast with, and our podcast called the OP, was an early Mavs podcast. Honestly, it was, I think the Locked On guys were a little ahead of us. And then there was maybe a couple others that were around the same time as us. But my buddy Reese Conkle and he's still on Twitter giving great hoops opinions and often terrible movie opinions. But I remember we were having conversations because I was so pro Maxi and he was so pro Dorian Finney-Smith. Like he was early on Dodo and I was early on Maxi. And as often was the case in Reese and my conversations, we both ended up being right. And so, Dorian Finney-Smith turned out to be such a productive player for the Mavs and is going to have a great, long tenure in the NBA. And I think Maxi has, other than the seasons where he's been smashed by injury, has been a really productive glue guy. Both he and Dodo were just great rotation winning players, right? Let me just kind of give you a recap over the last 3 seasons for Maxi. Now, some of those seasons have been really impacted by all of the injuries. Over the last 3 seasons, he's played a little over 24 minutes a game. He gets up about 5 shots a night. He shoots a little over 42% from the field and 33.6 or 33.5% from 3. That number kind of surprised me how bad that was. I think some of that's really been impacted by the injury seasons and just losing his shot. He is over those 3 seasons better than 60% from 2-point field goals, but he doesn't take just a ton of those. And he's about a 70% free throw shooter, and he'll get you at about 6.5 points a game with about a block. Now, none of those numbers really jump out to you. The last couple seasons for Maxi have been really, really tough, to be honest. Here's a stat that did surprise me a little bit. He is only a 36% shooter from 3 on his career. Now, of course, the early couple seasons, he didn't shoot it very well. He had a couple really nice seasons, and then these last few seasons, he just has not been, I think, up to the standard that he would hold himself to. And to the start of this season, as pro Maxi as I am, and I am as pro Maxi as anyone has been, right? Except for maybe his mama. On Mavs Twitter, though, I'm one of the most pro Maxi voices. I was saying, man, Maxi's toast. He came into this season looking so bad. And of course, he got hurt. He dislocated that pinky toe, I think it was. But in the first 4 games of the season, so super small sample size, admittedly, he was playing 19 minutes a night. He was shooting 25% from the field and 33% from 3. Just barely doing anything, not blocking any shots, only 0.3 blocks a game. And catch this, his true shooting in those first 4 games, once again, just 4 games. So give it tap the brake. There's just 4 games before he missed a month and a half or whatever with that injury. But his true shooting to start the season was 38.5%. So the guy just could not put the ball in the basket at all. And maybe even more condemning for Maxi was that he just looked so incredibly slow, to where I'm just saying, like, is Maxi burnt? Is he burnt toast? Is he done? Have these injuries just put an early end to his career? And that's where I was. And I know that's where a lot of us were. We're just like, man, Maxi is cooked. Maxi is done. He is not coming back from this. And his best days are clearly behind him. And then he missed a ton of games with that dislocated toe. And probably some other things, but I know the toe is the main reason. And here's the thing. I want to catch you up with the resurrection, the return of Maxi Kleber, because in the last 16 games, and this is all of the games since returning from his toe injury, he's playing over 23 minutes a night. He's getting still just up about 5 shots a night, but he's shooting 50% from the field. Still only, and this surprised me, still only about 36%, 36.4% from 3. But catch this stat right here. He's back up to a block a night, a block a game in those 23 minutes, and jump this, right? 62% true shooting from 38.5% to start the season. He got well, he got healthy. The Mavs were incredibly patient with him, and now his true shooting's up to 62%, which is just awesome for a big who's taking a lot of distance shots. And more important than just kind of those counting numbers, Maxi has looked quick-footed. He's looked alert defensively, and he's back to being very, very helpful on the defensive end. He's back to being Maxi. Maxi is back. He's back to being a floor spacing small ball 5. As a man defender, he's been keeping his men in front of him or funneling them into help defense. He keeps his feet churning. He's always shifting his feet. He never is plodding or slow-footed. He's got back to having that great Maxi level shot anticipation where even if he doesn't get a hand on the ball, he's challenging it. A really nice contest, usually without fouling. We've all seen, if you watch the Mavs like I do, and I know some of you might, but like the idea is if you watch as many games and if you watch Maxi closely, like he just does a great job of contesting without fouling. Like he'll get a small, quick guard who he kind of has no business being able to defend, and the guard thinks that, right? The guard's like, oh, I'm about to cook this big, slow Euro, right? And Maxi just stays in front and puts up an incredible contest. It makes it the hardest possible shot for them. Maxi getting cooked is a rare sight these days. And so I'm just so excited. As a help defender, might be his best asset as a help defender. He's got great timing. He's helping his teammates again. He's one of those guys, if he's to your side or behind you, Maxi's got your back. Maxi is incredibly aware of what's happening with the ball, of where he needs to be. He's got great positioning. And so, man, I'm just pumped. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm excited that Maxi seems to be back. In a second, I'm gonna give you an interesting set of stats about Maxi I think people probably tend to forget. But man, I'm back. I'm back on board. I'm just so excited to see Maxi Kleber back being a productive rotation big. He gives you some flexibility. Obviously, we've got D-Live and Gafford, who are the bigger guys, the more natural rebounders, right? They're going to clog the paint. They're going to do all that. But Maxi gives you this other look. He's a good closing lineup 5 if the other team is going small. Maxi really gives you some flexibility. If he's hitting those threes like he has been recently, it just makes him so incredibly valuable. So I'm back on board. Give him 16 to 20 minutes a night. He's been playing 23 minutes a night, so that's great if that's what's best for the team. Let him play his role as a disruptor defensively, as someone who helps to contain the mismatches. He's doing a great job of that. He is a helpful tool in your tool belt, right? He really is. I love that he's healthy again. And also, here's the stat I want to close with. Some of us remember this as soon as I mention it, but I think unless it's mentioned, sometimes we don't remember. So here's the thing: Maxi has been a sneaky playoff shooter. A couple of years ago, when the Mavs were making their deep playoff run into the Western Conference Finals, Maxi was a huge contributor, not only defensively but offensively. Throughout the run in the 2022 playoffs, the Western Conference run, in round 1 against the Jazz, Maxi shot better than 54, or right at 54% from the field, and almost 52% from 3. And he took 31 attempts in that first round against the Jazz. He was on fire. Do y'all remember? Luka was out a bunch of those, I think the first 3 games. Brunson was awesome. The role players were awesome, but Maxi was one of those guys who was just scorching hot. Shot better than 54% from the field and better than 51.5% from 3 on a bunch of attempts. So Maxi was so good in the playoffs. Round 2 against the Suns, he upped it. He was a 56% from the field. The 3-point cooled off a little bit. He was only a 46.4% 3-point shooter in that series against the Suns that we know went Game 7, one of the most amazing Game 7s in NBA history if you're a Mavs fan. And then you remember how terrible that Western Conference Finals was against the Warriors. Man, it just didn't feel like a close matchup at all, and it really wasn't. And a part of that was Maxi disappeared. Maxi disappears that round. So from shooting better than 50% from the field and an awesome, scorching three-point percentage, Maxi against the Dubs, against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, only shot 38.5% from the field. And from three, catch this, and from three only shot a little better than 26% from three. And so there's a touch of which, I know this isn't, the Mavs go as far as Luka can carry them, as far as Kyrie can carry them, of course. But we need those support players to step up and do their role, right? We need them to step up and to play well in these big moments, right? Because we know that Luka and Kyrie are going to create amazing open looks for them. And so Maxi helped carry us through those first two rounds. He was a huge help. And then in that third round against the Warriors, when his production, if he just shot like he did in the Jazz and Suns series, that would have been a huge blessing, a huge boon, a huge help. But he didn't. He disappeared in that series, and the Mavs basically got laughed off the floor. So my hope is that we're going to not overplay him. We're going to keep him healthy, and that will allow him to have enough left in the tank when the playoffs come around this season, where we will get, once again, the best of Maxi Kleber. Because if you can get the best from Maxi, you are getting an incredibly helpful rotation piece, an incredibly helpful stretch big, who, man, I'm just excited to see playing good ball again. What have you liked about what you've seen about Maxi? Are you with me? You don't think he's cooked anymore? You're back on board the train? And let me know what you're thinking about Maxi. Y'all have a good one. Bye.